All right, so we got some updates. Apparently, there's been some updates concerning this whole story with Dr. Juanita Bynum. All right, y'all, we're going to talk about this thing. We jumping right the crap in. Stay in and lock it the crap up. It's the JoJo Hill Show. All right, good people, what's going on? It's your friend and brother Robert W. JoJo Hill. I'm in the building on the 90. Yes. All right, I want you guys to click, like, and share. Now, let's jump right into this thing. Apparently, there's been some updates. I have not read any of the updates. I have not seen them, but I have heard about these updates as it relates to the whole Juanita Bynum situation and Dr. John Moore, or Pastor John Moore in Virginia. Now, apparently, there's been some, as they call, receipts, and the receipts said that the events that were reported, according to Pastor John Moore, were not as they were previously reported with Dr. Bynum's live piece. And then there was also reportedly a situation where the hotel actually jumped in and spoke their piece concerning this. Now, I'm going to say this right from the doggone dribble, and I'm going to deal with this thing the way JoJo Hill deals with things. All right. Now, if there was in fact a breach and the information was not shared correctly, I believe that it should be corrected. Who should correct it? Whoever broke it and whoever jacked it up. If there was a breach from an assistant, she needs to freaking get that junk fixed, because what happens is if you jump out there and you act on something that you've been told and it was not accurate, I believe a righteous mind would say you have to go in and you have to freaking fix it. So if this stuff is going to be fixed, fix it, fix it, fix it. Now, I got to deal with this from this other side as well. I've watched so many extremely interesting positions as it relates to this stuff. I mean, these folks on my doggone YouTube channel, even on here on the Facebook channel, Facebook page, y'all people losing y'all doggone minds. Everybody, I've never seen a group of people so eager. I mean, eager, like with no formal information, with no previous information, to jump off the bridge and stab. Now, I did a show a couple of days ago, and obviously it was before a lot of these other things came along, and my position was very simple. And I stated this. I said, no one can determine what Dr. Bynum felt, if she felt strange, weird, if she felt naked, as she stated, if she believed the information that she received from her assistant was actually accurate. Now, the position was very simple. It was not to defend any other action outside of the concept of this. No one can determine what people felt. That's it. That was the bottom of it. There was no additional nothing. The JoJo Hill position was very simple. We cannot say that if someone is offended, that they did not feel offended. Man, listen, I've never heard so many retarded, stupid statements in my whole life. I heard people just going the crap off with no previous information whatsoever, no additional information whatsoever, just jumping off the bridge, talking about all this stuff that they had no knowledge of. And this is why this is very interesting for me, guys. It's interesting, folks, because when you consider how eager a group of people are to just throw people off the doggone bus and run people over with the doggone bus and run them over with a doggone tractor trailer, when you consider that, man, you got to start looking at the mindset of these people. I had folks who did not watch or listen to the video, the show at all. They didn't listen to it at all. The only thing they did is just responded, not off of any other information that they watched or heard, but purely from just the comments. I had someone say, they literally said, oh, I didn't watch the video, I just read the comments. So you didn't watch the video, you didn't listen to any of the information that came from the JoJo Hill show and from our platform. You didn't watch it, didn't listen to it, didn't check it out at all. The only thing you did is read through comments, and based upon comments, you made your assessment. You, ma'am, are a fool, because only a fool will jump to a conclusion of a matter that they haven't heard. How can you conclude a matter that you have not heard? This is amazing. I asked, and I was wondering why. I always thought it was so strange that we could be consistently manipulated and pushed in all these different directions. And I wondered why. I said, why the crap, why? Because we don't, as a culture, not everybody, I have to say this, I have to say it like this, not everybody But a vast majority of our people don't even make proper assessments. They just look through what everyone else is saying, and then they jump on according to whatever everyone else is saying. Do you understand this? Now, this happened on both sides. Now, as a journalist, as it were, as one that reports and talks about these things, I didn't make this stuff up. I didn't bring this stuff up. I didn't create this. I didn't do any of this crap. Let me say that from the doggone dribble, because I'm dealing with people who are not thinking people. We're dealing with completely irrational people. Now, we'll deal with the breaches that as it relates to the story. We'll deal with that. But I have to say this from the doggone beginning. This is very interesting to me to watch people's assessment of things without any prior information. How can you conclude a matter that you haven't heard? I'm talking about, there's people talking about, this needs to happen and this needs to happen. They need to give the money back. Hey, man, listen, those are completely different matters that you have nothing to do with. My show was very specific, and I have to deal with only our show, because I can only speak to what happens at Joe Fuller Global Media, the JoJo Hill Show, and its affiliations. That's it. I can only speak to that. Now, I watch this, and I'm listening, and I'm over at my YouTube channel. Make sure you guys please go over there and click like and share and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because YouTube, unlike Facebook, actually lets stuff doggone go through. And I think the video is probably at a couple thousand, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 views now over there. Now, this is what's extremely interesting. I watch so many people throwing Dr. Bynum under the bus without any prior information. Now, let me say this again. This is not to excuse if there was in fact something off. If there was something off, I believe that whatever was breached should be fixed. Very simple. It's not rocket science. If it was something done publicly that was addressed, that was not accurately handled, if it's found out that it wasn't, just fix it. That's a very simple solution. This is not about destroying no doggone body. This is not, oh, you're just siding. And people have called me wicked, crooked, how much of a cut did I get? And I'm going, wait a minute now, hold on. I spoke in a very specific sense. It was very specific. No one could determine, not even me, could determine what Dr. Bynum felt when she got whatever the information was. It was very simple. And it is fascinating to me to listen to the random comments and the stuff that people have to say. It's fascinating. And this is why it's so dangerous. It's dangerous because now you have people who are not functioning from any level of, they're not functioning from knowledge. They have what's called zeal, but it's not according to knowledge. They're jumping with no information. Now, if the information surfaces and that information says there was something done that could have been handled correctly or differently, that has to be adjusted. That's very simple. If it's something that was done incorrect, fix the thing that wasn't done correct and move past it. What the crap is the big deal? Just do that. But you don't have people that think like that. You're talking about people pulling all kind of stuff, and I'm not defending anything that is outside of the context of right, just, fair, and good. I'm not. If something was done incorrect, that thing should be fixed. If it was done off, it should just be fixed. Why is that so complicated for people to understand? Now, it does not mean, oh, well, you must be in on it. I had people say to me, you must be in on it. I said, in on what? What the crap are you talking about? Again, it's very disturbing when you think about this thing from a very neutral perspective, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have people that think for themselves. We don't have people that watch and learn and check out stuff for themselves. Everything has balance. It's always 2 or 3 sides to every story. It's not just one side. So if there's one side, if the other side is presented and then a third side is presented, we have to look at that information. You can't just act like it doesn't exist, because if something is done at this level and it causes a catastrophic tumbling of sorts, then you have to say, hey, wait a minute, let's look at the other side of it and let's consider all sides. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're not on the side of righteousness. You don't have righteousness in your thinking. I'm not talking about church. I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about no doggone conferences or no freaking revivals. I'm talking about righteousness as a point of thought, as the way you process information. You're seeking out the balance. I had someone say, I want you guys, please pop over to my YouTube channel and just read through some of these insane comments. I've never seen anything like it. It's the most... And the people, they have no concept of listening. They have no concept of finding what the actual topics at hand are. If you have someone that, let's say, for example, you have someone and they say, we're talking about someone's choice to pick a red car. Just say, for example, this was the dynamic. We're talking about someone, it's their right to pick a red car. No one can say why they pick a red car. No one can say, it's just their preference. They don't know, they just like the color red. They pick a red car. It's just their car. The comments were things like, well, if they are a race car driver, then they was responsible for robbing a bank, and even though they was just driving the car. And I'm going, what? Am I being punked? I couldn't process. I can't understand. I could not understand why the people could not balance the equation. The scripture says it this way. It says it like this. A parable in the mouth of a fool are like the legs of a crippled man. They're uneven. And then it says there's no reasoning with someone that's a fool. If you're dealing with foolish thinking people, they don't even seek out the balance. Now, granted, I will say this again because I know I'm going to have retarded people on my doggone page and on my channel saying some outlandish foolishness to me. If there was, in fact, a breach in that scenario, it should be fixed. I hope I said it clear enough. If there was, in fact, a breach and something was off, and if the stuff comes up, because I've heard the stuff about the doggone hotel calling and sending information over to another show and talking about the things that happened according to the hotel. That was one piece of information. Then the pastor and his wife had a set of information, and then it was another scenario where an interview happened with the assistant, and I actually saw that, and I thought that was very, 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 very interesting. I thought that could have been handled completely different. Now, with all of those pieces of information provided, righteousness says we have to now balance the equation. I'm not going to jump out there and just start flamming and slinging stuff around if there's no balancing of that information. Once you get information, then you are required. You're only required and you're only held accountable once you've been presented with all the information. So at the JoJo Hill Show, we said, all right, we're going to find out. Let's see what this stuff is looking like. And according to that information and based upon what we see, then we have to come back. If we're going to be just, right, and fair, we have to come back then now and say, my position is still, no one can determine what she or any other person responds with emotionally if they get a particular set of information. Now, once the other parts of the information have been presented, you are now responsible to balance that junk out. Now you have to say, okay, now I've been presented with this information and this information and this information, and according to what I was told, this now doesn't match. Now I have to readdress what happened before. Now, from what I understand, I don't know this. I didn't see the documentation. I didn't see anything. I can only talk about what has been reported to me. I don't know. I did not see it. According to that, it says that the hotel presented an email with information on there. The hotel did. And the pastor and his wife came and they talked about it, and there were some other people. Now, then you had other folks jumping on, and they're making their contribution to it, saying, oh, this happened, this happened. No one can dispute that. We're not defending or fighting against nothing else that's happened. That has nothing to do with this show. The thing that's so interesting to me is that how easily people are manipulated to just throw stuff out there with no prior information. Before information was even presented, people were jumping off the doggone bridge. You can't do that. That says that you're just as guilty as the so-called justice system that you talk about. You're just as guilty. If, and I will say this again for the people that's going to act a fool on my doggone show, if Dr. Bynum was presented with information that was off and she responded to that off information, nobody can say that she didn't have that reaction. She did have the freaking reaction. We can't say that she didn't feel it, just like I cannot say what anybody that's watching this show feels. People feel how they feel. We can't handle that. That has nothing to do with us. Now, here's where the equity comes into play. Once there's been additional information provided, now it's 2 plus 2. Now we got more information. Now, based upon that information, let's go back in and let's handle whatever was previously done. That's it. It's no rocket science. We don't have to jump through 1,000 hoops with this stuff. People should understand that righteousness is a way of thinking, and it doesn't just apply to the people that you think or that you call righteous or that you say, well, that person must be this. That doesn't necessarily mean that. Righteousness is a way of thinking for people. Righteousness is a thinking of people. It's not just one person. You can't just say, well, that person is supposed to be. Now, granted, if there's something that's off, we have to adjust that. You have to. If you get some new information and that new information says that this is the case scenario at this point, as of this day, you are now held accountable for that information. You have to handle that. You can't just leave that crap out there and people just it's freaking amazing to me. I mean, people, they don't balance these equations. Nobody's thinking you have to balance this equation. Nobody ever thinks it. This is absolutely, it's freaking amazing to me. I can't even understand. I can't process it. Now, I will state it again. Once new information has been presented, the same way you got on that doggone video and you talked about this, if the information is in fact solid information, which I believe it is, then you have to readdress that. You have to go back and just say, hey, according to what I was told, this is how this looked, and based upon that, this is what it made me feel like. And again, I support her right to feel what she felt. Now, in connection with balance, or balance, now you have to say, okay, now I got this new information. I didn't know this. I wasn't aware of this. I was told this. And now, based upon these points of fact, this is now what I have to do to fix. That's it. No harm at that point in fixing. There's no harm in fixing. Just fix. That's it. So I don't want to hear nobody jumping on my doggone page talking about no retarded crap like, well, how much money did you get? And I said this. I haven't talked to Dr. Bynum since last year. I haven't talked to Dr. Bynum. I don't work for Juanita Bynum Ministries. I don't work for them. Juanita is my sister. I've known her for years. I've worked with her. I've produced records for her, the whole 9 yards. We've worked together for many, many, many years, but I don't work for her. So I have nothing to do with that. And it fascinates me. Please, guys, please pop over to my YouTube channel and just read some of these ridiculous comments. I've never seen anything like it in my life. People have no sense of balance. I stated very specifically on the show, this is my position. My position is this and this only. If Dr. Bynum responded to the information she got, no one can say she did not feel that. She felt what she felt, just as you would feel what you feel. If someone told you that your son got ran over by a car, you would have a natural reaction to that. If someone told you that someone stole your vehicle, you would have a natural reaction to that. The thing that amazes me about our people, it's so jacked up. Before they even hear any additional information, they say, well, you don't know if they felt that. What do you mean? I don't know. You're absolutely correct. I do not know that. I can't determine what someone else feels. I can't do that. I can't determine what someone else felt. I can't determine what someone else dealt with. I can't determine any of that stuff. The only thing that I can do is once particular information has been presented and that information has been verified, I'm responsible. If I'm the one that breached, I have to go back and fix it. That's not anything that's unreasonable. So of course, Man, get unbelievable. I had someone say to me, well, I didn't watch the video. I didn't watch it. I just read the comments. So you didn't watch it. So that means you had no frame of reference for even what you were responding to. That's a psychological problem. Not all, but a vast majority of our people are dealing with psychological breaches. This is why so many of these things are prevalent. We watch it. Just go back and look at it. It's fascinating. I've never seen anything like it. This is a fascinating fact. What do you see? Tam said, the facts are, this is a common practice for her. She didn't have the right to make him look like a pervert based upon, okay, I got you. Okay, Tam, I got you. I see that. I read that. I see it. Now, here's the suggestion again. Once that stuff has been presented to be corrected, then she's responsible to go back and fix that. You doggone right. What the crap do I care? That has nothing to do with me. This is just what right is. Do you understand? This is just the correction of something that was off. But again, we can't say that at the outset, from the very beginning, she did not feel what she felt based upon that misinformation or the alleged misinformation. I don't know. I haven't seen any of that crap. I wasn't there, and neither were most of you. You were not there, so you can't say definitively anything. The only thing we can talk about is principle. That's it. The only thing we can deal with, ladies and gentlemen, is principle. We have to deal with the principle. Tam, I couldn't read it all, baby. It was going too fast. I'll have to go back and look at it later. Now, here's the deal. Randall said, I agree with you in the last show. Dr. Bynum has the right to feel how she felt. Yes, sir. But in light of new information, I agree. Yes, that has to be adjusted. If the information is in fact valid, then that has to be adjusted. That's not rocket science. That's not throwing anybody under the bus. That is just simply balancing the equation. Because that's what righteousness does. That's what it looks like. To fix this crap, if it's broken. If it's off, fix it. If you find out something was different, then of course you handle it different. If you heard that somebody came in your house and stole your stuff, and you ran up on them to confront them about the stuff that they stole, based upon the information you got, you are legitimately correct in approaching them. Now, if you beat the crap out of them and you find out later that they did not in fact steal your stuff, you have to do what's called reparations, or you have to repair that. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. Y'all ain't talking. You have to then fix it. How do you fix it? You have to go back in the same manner in which you handled it before, and you have to fix it. That's it. If you discover that a person did not actually rob your house, if you discover that a person did not actually do that, then you are responsible to go back and fix that. And that's not throwing anybody under the bus. That's for any person. Get the crap out of here. What you're saying is only true. Thank you so much, sir. I believe it is true because it's a principle. You can't bypass principle. You can't bypass principle. And people, it's fascinating. Folks have thought that I was going to come on and just do all these bashing parties. I'm not doing no bashing parties. I have no bashing to do. The crap. What does that look like? What level of fairness and justice does that put me on? Now, if it's stuff that's off, hey man, the stuff is off. It has to be fixed. This is not difficult. It's no defense of anything that's off. If something is off and broken, it has to be fixed. Very simple. I believe, let me say this, guys, and I'm off of the doggone show tonight. I believe that people have several things that they have the right to do. People have the right to feel what they feel. I believe that people have the right to respond. I heard people can say whatever they want. But if you're going to be just, right, and fair, you have to only respond once you understand all of the points of fact. Once you know all the points of fact, then you have to deal with it from that point. Let's see what you're saying, Tam. Tam is saying the people who were there have confirmed each other. I agree. She must make this right. The front desk clerk confirmed it. Yes, I've talked about that, Tam. Yes, according to what we were told. Now, I haven't received that document. I haven't seen it. I haven't read it. I don't know that. But based upon that information, just as the other points were presented, if it was presented with no documentation and people accepted it, if this now is presented allegedly with no documentation that I've seen. I haven't touched anything. From that, being just, right, and fair says, okay, if the hotel confirmed, if the pastor confirmed, if these other people confirm these dynamics, then it has to be dealt with. Fix it. That's it. Why is that's not complicated? Just fix it. If it was presented off and you got misinformation, my perspective is deal with the person that gave you the misguided information. If in fact the information was truly misguided information, and according to the stuff that's been presented, it's been verified that it did not match according to what they were told, then it has to be fixed. Just fix it. No one's in dispute of that. And I don't want to hear nobody on my doggone page talking up no doggone foolishness. I can't even process how off people can be with something like that. It was people talking about all kind of stuff. Well, dude, y'all don't know all that stuff. You only know what you were told. If you were told one set of information, deal with that. Once you get the other parts, then you make the assessment. Only a fool moves when they haven't heard the conclusion of a whole matter. The only way you're going to deal with it is if you have all the points of fact. If you have all the points of fact, then you can make your assessment. Your assessment can't be made outside of that. And I watched so many people over the last several days making assessments that they did not actually know. Now, people can say, well, it was a bunch of people that went through this and people have said this. I've heard that. I have no quarrel with that. I've heard that. I've heard all about that. Seen that, know that, heard all about that. But that wasn't this case scenario. In this case scenario, you have to deal with things as you get them on the case scenario specific. Outside of that, you just swinging at the fences. Crap out of here. I want to hear what you guys got to say. Type some stuff in. Let me hear what you guys got to say. I really want to hear that. I don't want people. I would never want to be in a scenario where people will make such a sweeping assessment without any information. The thing that baffled me was the attacks. Now, here I am speaking from current points of fact, current information, and principle. And people are throwing bricks. It's absolutely amazing. I couldn't imagine dealing with the kind of craziness that is. Because please understand, JoJo Hill's not the one. I will deal straight with you. Forget about it. I will deal straight with you. I don't fool with that crap like that. Stuff has to be fixed. If it has to be fixed, just fix it. That's it. That should settle that whole piece. And hopefully this shuts this whole thing down as it relates to that. If it needs to be fixed, fix it. That's it. That's my position. I will still stand on my initial show when I talked about Juanita having the right to feel what she felt based upon that information. She has the right. Nobody can take that. Just like you have the doggone right. You also have the right to feel how you feel if somebody presents you with information. That information is right or wrong, correct or incorrect. You will naturally respond to that. And we have to defend a person's right to feel what they felt. Now, again, once the information has been presented correct, just correct it. That's not hard. That's not complicated. It's only complicated. Here it is, guys, and I'm finished. It's only complicated when you have unrighteous intention. It's only difficult for you to do that if you have unrighteous intention. And I'm talking about anybody. This is not just here. I'm talking about with any person. It only becomes complicated when you have unrighteous intention. Outside of that, it's not a problem. If I make a mistake, if I beat the crap out of a dude because I said he was stealing my lawnmower and I found out that the guy was not stealing my lawnmower, it's very easy for me to just go, dude, my fault. I beat the crap out of you and I reported you. I put you on the news. I had paper and all this crap concerning you. And I found out you weren't trying to steal my lawnmower. Then I'm responsible to make that right. Now, again, I haven't talked to Dr. Bynum. I haven't talked to anybody in her camp at all. I haven't talked to anybody. But I can only speak from a principle perspective. And I say again, if the current information is accurate and all the facts, the points of fact are in, based upon that, then there has to be an adjustment made. Somebody has to go back and fix. Somebody's job needs to be reassessed. All that. But hey, that's my position. That's my position of thought. That's how I think. somebody causes this kind of uproar, and it comes to find out, and the facts bear out that this stuff was not accurate, then that has to be adjusted. That has to be addressed. Somebody needs to be in a soup line. That's all I'm saying. That will be my personal position. But again, I don't know that because I have not gotten any information from there. I have not heard from Dr. Bynum. I don't know that. But I can only speak to it from the points of fact that we have thus far. And thus far, it looks like somebody was told, Dr. Bynum was told something that was not accurate, and she responded to inaccurate information. So I don't give a crap what nobody's talking about. Well, it's other people that said that. I ain't talking about that. We're talking about this case specific. Only this case. I ain't talking about, well, this happened in 1972. I don't give a crap. We're not dealing with that right now. This person is not on trial. And the thing that I think people really need to pull away from this, if it happens there, it can happen to you. It can happen to any person. If you wouldn't want somebody to just make a sweeping assessment and drag in all this other stuff that has nothing to do with the current scenario, why would you want that? You would only want that. You would only see the demise and all this crap if you just have a craving. It's like a bloodthirst. I got to consider every freaking thing because righteous people consider everything. Unrighteous people don't. Everybody want to immediately throw mugs under the doggone bus immediately with no additional information. But as it is in this particular case, allegedly, it's been some additional information. I haven't seen any of that crap, as I said before. But if all things bear out to be equal, then something needs to be adjusted. Go back and fix it. Make a public conversation. Have a public situation. We say, hey, man, I made a mistake. There's no harm in that. Just say you made a mistake. Everybody tell me, what about the money? Dude, listen, y'all don't know what the crap. That's way too much. It's too much. You have to fix the crap if it's broken. Now, let me say this too, because I have to be fair and I have to be even. I have to do it on all sides. I'm finished. I'm through. Now, if it comes out that some of that new information was spoiled, then that has to be a whole nother conversation too. But we'll get to that if we get to it. If we come to find out that that's also a thing, then we'll deal with that too, because we are going to be just right and fair. We're going to talk about this stuff from a very even perspective. Y'all better get your head out of all this church dynamic stuff, because stuff is uneven, is tilted, and is off. If it's not functioning from a righteous perspective, then it runs the risk of anything happening. That's why all this crap keep going crazy. And the thing I noticed, I'm finished. I noticed that most of the people that did the most brick throwing was so-called church people. That's exactly why I do not want y'all to call me no Christian. I will never be considered one of them, because if that's what they do, man, get the crap out of here. I don't want nothing to do with that. I ain't one of them. Don't call me one of them, because that has nothing to do with fairness and justness. That just says, let me figure out a way to cut you as quick as I can and cut anybody as quick as I can, because it ain't just happening with her. It will happen with anybody. Nobody likes to consider this stuff. I just happen to be one of the people that do. I want to give you guys that quick update. That is my position. That is my thought. That is my show for the night. I am through. This is your friend and brother Robert W. JoJo Hill, the servant, the artist, and the author. I want you guys to be encouraged, be empowered. Most of all, guys, say it with me, be enlightened. The servant has spoken. I'm out.
It's the JoJo Hill Show.